Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit that subscribe button if you're new so you don't miss any of our great football content this season. Okay, so Dolphins Bears, I watched almost the entire game today. So this is what I thought was interesting. So I've said this now this has been kind of one of my off-season rants. What Mike McDaniel is smart. I don't doubt it. The media loves him. He almost looks like a sports writer. He almost talks like one. He's sort of snarky. Um, not the coolest guy in the room, but my question was always, can he create a culture? Same with Lincoln Riley, by the way. I know they're smart. I know they're good play designers and play callers, but a big part of football, Dan Campbell, Nick Sirianni, Pete Carroll, hell, Andy Reid, is Shanahan, creating toughness and culture. So the quotes from Joe Shad, who covers them, used to be at ESPN, good guy. Joe Shad said today, Mike McDaniel played starters today. And the reason was he is emphasizing, listen to this, culture, physicality, and accountability. So Mike McDaniel's hearing it. And this has been my knock on the Dolphins. Like Caleb didn't play. We can talk about that in a second. Tua did. And I think Mike McDaniel is seeing what people like me and you have said for a year. What are you? You can't build football programs on speed on the perimeter in. The Chiefs build theirs on Creed Humphrey, Joe Tooney at the time, Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Travis Kelce. You build in out. You can find speed. It's hard to find great centers and quarterbacks and great interior linemen and left tackles. And so I think Mike McDaniels, to his credit, is acknowledging, yeah, the culture here feels broken. We were the fastest team in the league, but it didn't get us anything. And I appreciate him acknowledging it, but playing starters is a message, it seems to me.
Well, I've always been a believer. I mean, there are some sayings in
Yeah.
football that you could walk into every building and, looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane, and one
Yeah.
scouting term. And I think this works to this too is, a leopard doesn't change its spots. I think when a coach, Pete Carroll talks about this, he realized he tried to change and it blew up in his face and he had to stay true to who he was. Remember when he studied with John Wooden and he got the USC job? He's like, I'm a fun, happy guy. I'm not Belichick. Belichick is a grumpy guy. They're very authentic to themselves. But toughness, they don't have to fake that. It's part of the way they practice, it's part of the way they think about football. You go around most of the top coaches, Sean McDermott, Dan Campbell, they're just tough guys. They don't ever have to
Yeah.
fake I don't think you can just manipulate, snap your fingers and go. Because I bought, I'm on the plane. I realize the Bear game about to kick off. I get Wi-Fi on my phone, and then I realize I actually wanted it on my iPad. So somehow I ended up spending $50 on internet Wi-Fi on the plane.
I do that all the time.
But I'm watching the game, and the broadcaster says that, one thing McDaniel's doing has been making them run gassers after practice, really trying to. That's like something the brand new college coach does. Like some of these guys were on your team last year. They see you, Mike. Like you're not a tough guy. That's okay. But you got to do what you do at an elite level. 2 years ago, the one thing they mentioned today on the broadcast that I didn't realize how bad their offense was last year, and part of that was
Yeah.
Tua got injured. 2 years ago, they were really good. I mean, they have had
Yeah.
some really good offenses under him, but accountability and toughness, those come from your head coach and the players you select. But you can't just snap your finger and do that. Kyle Shanahan and Andy Reid and McVay, their teams are tough. I mean, Andy is an old school offensive lineman. The other two guys
Yeah.
are, younger, whatever. But because they practice tough. And they've done that since both those two guys showed up in 2017. Right? Kevin O'Connell. I'll give him credit. I don't know if I view him as a tough guy, right? Kind of more of a bougie quarterback. But what does he do? Hires Brian Flores. We're going to be
Yep.
fucking tough. So it's
Yep.
the toughness goes on Flores, who is a tough guy. There's no faking it. He doesn't. The accountability comes from the tone that is set on defense. Jim Harbaugh and John, they are tough guys. They also always hire tough defensive coordinators. So you just
Yep.
can't. Mike, I just think that, Mike, you're not a tough guy, and it's been too long now in your program. If it had been year one, you got some players out of there, it's okay. He's on year four. I don't think that's possible. Now, I give him credit, okay, we're going to start and play our starters. On the flip side, I don't know if you saw some of the quotes of Ben Johnson, we're going to get our work pregame and we're going to get our work tomorrow. I think nationally televised game, this wasn't 7 other preseason games going on. There was only one. He wanted no part. It could have gone well, but also if it goes bad, then that trumps Caleb or Shador as the number one story in the NFL tomorrow. You're leading your show with it. We can't even talk about Caleb because no one saw him play. Meanwhile, Tua, who, let's face it, if Caleb is as good as Tua in terms of efficiency and solid, the Bears would be pretty damn happy this season, right?
Yeah.
And Tua's out there playing, and he's making a ton of money, and Caleb's on the sideline, which Caleb doesn't control that. But that was,
Yeah.
I think Ben Johnson, which I give him credit, he's been coaching them hard.
Yes.
He's been running an accountability, toughness program from the jump. But I think he realized, like, look at the schedule. Everyone's watching our game. If word had gone out, Caleb's about to start, even more people are tuning into that thing, and he didn't even want to risk it, which
Yep.
I understand, but I also think it shows you that still a great unknown what we're getting week one.
I think they practiced. Didn't they have an inter squad practice, the Bears and the Dolphins? I thought I read they did. And it was really physical. And there were a couple of moments where the Dolphins felt the Bears had delivered, some late hits or a little over physicality. And so there's another reason Ben Johnson's like,
Yeah,
Andy Reid.
I think Tua got shoved to the ground or something, right? I saw on
Yeah.
Twitter.
And so, you've told me this is Andy Reid will not do those inter squad practices. He doesn't want anybody seeing any of his stuff.
Never
and
done
Shanahan
one.
never done one. Andy's like, you're not going to get a look at anything we're doing or our players or our draft picks. You don't get a look at any of it. And then Shanahan will only do one practice. And I think, have you talked about that theory before? Why?
Well, Kyle, I guess, said this the other day, and I was like, actually, it kind of makes a lot of sense. He thinks the second day of these joint practices, which a lot of these teams now are just doing the one, and then some of them
Yes.
don't even play their starters in that game, because whoever loses day one
Of
well,
inter
you're usually-
squad.
You're usually practicing, sometime before lunch. You have a meeting and stuff in the afternoon where you break up and your position coach are lighting you up. So what are you going to do the next day after getting lit up in the position meeting, the group meeting, and then maybe even the morning meeting? You're going to come out with your hair on fire, and that can lead to fights. And listen, you get fights in the one-off practice, but he said the day two practices can get a little out of control, and I was like, that actually makes some sense. Whoever kind of quote unquote loses, and who knows? It could be like one group won this one, the other group lost this one on different teams. They just got melees going on.
Yeah, and I think Ben Johnson also looked at that, and we had a pretty good practice. I'm not putting Caleb out. I mean, I think there were a lot of factors, but in the end, a team can't. You have to. You and I have talked about this in our job. You have to give the fans meat in the sandwich. You can't just do fluff. Miami's been fluff. Hey, we're fast. Hey, we got multiple sets. There's no meat in the sandwich. Wilkins has gone on the D line, who I thought was really good. Offensive line gets pushed around last several years, but hey, we're fast. So I do think it's interesting that he is acknowledging Joe Shad's article, stronger culture, more accountability. At some point, the Tyreek Hill thing, the really smart organizations and businesses in my life can see trouble before it happens. And the Chiefs moved off Tyreek Hill just about the time he was the most talked about player in the league. And they got comfortable saying, you know what? This could go. I mean, because Tyreek, his personality, he's been in trouble multiple times. And not that Kansas City doesn't have Rashee Rice's issue. I mean, they've got their own issues. But I think I look at that trade and I remember the reaction when the Dolphins got Tyreek Hill. And I remember being on the air on FS1 and I said, all those draft picks to Brett Veach, they're going to be just fine.
And they drafted two of the better players on their team in Trent McDuffie and Karlaftis, right? I mean, those two guys have changed the team. I also think when we got home yesterday from the live thing and we had the Vikings game on, for the entire third quarter, the highest paid wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, was mic'd up with their crew and just having a good time. And you're like, God, this guy feels like he's pretty easy to be around. And one theme coming out of Dolphins camp is that relationship of the stuff Tyreek said after the season in Tua, like, no, we're not just all good. You don't just, and then I just saw a headline right before we jumped on that, teams are sniffing around about trading for him. Like what teams? Like a really good team? Now, maybe you never know. I would never, like, McVay might just go, yeah, we'll do it. But I bet there are some good, well-run teams that are like, yeah, we're not even messing with that. Not even
No
worth
thanks.
it. Unless you eat so much money where if it doesn't work, we can just cut him immediately, something like that. But he went from being a really good asset a couple years ago. I mean, even when Miami got him, he was putting up huge numbers to now. Yeah. I bet there are a lot of Super Bowl contenders that are like, yeah, we wouldn't even be in that business.
Yeah, Travis Hunter will be the athlete of note in that state. It will
Yeah.
not be Tyreek Hill going forward.